Michigan beat Ohio State. And we're back at the Preacher of the Prodigy. And 4 days, 5 days later, we're still kind of laughing at the biggest upset in the history of the greatest rivalry in all of sports, as Michigan, who entered the game
A
20,
19 and a half.
between 19 and a half and 23 and a half point favorite, won in the horseshoe 13-10. Jericho, we have a video of you and me celebrating at the end of the game that will not be part of this podcast, but we were quite happy and shocked.
Yeah, you said yourself that you did not expect to be pacing in the fourth quarter, as it was 10-10 and the game could have gone either way, although we both knew deep down in our hearts that Ryan Day could not drive the length of the field.
And yet you picked the Buckeyes to come.
Because I didn't think it was close. I didn't think it'd be close. I did not think it. I said out, whether on the podcast or just to people, that this rivalry game has more potential to be an upset than if it was a normal game or really any other rivalry game. And
so you're saying Penn State would have beat Michigan by 17, but because it was Ohio State, Michigan won by 3?
Probably. I mean, Penn State doesn't focus 365 on that game, and Michigan doesn't focus 365 on that game.
Well, as we said, welcome back to the Preacher and the Prodigy. We have now finished the regular season. We have crossed the finish line on week 14 of the 2024 college football season. And in a season with maybe fewer shocks and surprises, although trouble in Tallahassee continues to be one of the storylines of the year.
Yeah.
We come to bowl, not quite
Championship
bowl, but conference championship week, and it looks different. I want to say bowl because we have all the bowls and all the playoff yet to come, but this is kind of like a playoff of sorts as well. Even though teams have been told participation in the conference championship game will not hurt them in bowl season.
But it can help them.
It can help them. It can't hurt them, which is an interesting way of putting it. But here we are at the threshold of the 12-team playoff. But before that, 1 week of conference championship games. That's what we want to talk about this week.
It was weird looking earlier this week at the championship games, because most of the big name games, these teams don't often play each other. I think Texas and Georgia has been played maybe 6 times. Oregon, Penn State, maybe less than that. SMU, Clemson, they don't play each other. And Arizona State, Iowa State. Arizona State was always in the Pac-12. And so these are interesting matchups that you don't always get to see, but representing their conference nonetheless, as Oregon and Texas roll into their respective conferences and show them who's boss and who's willing to be up to the challenge.
Yeah. Just one other look back game. We hung out along for all 8 of the overtimes in Georgia against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, we did.
What a tremendous game, and
This
just
week was
a wearying game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really did not know who was going to win that game because neither team really had the energy at the end of 8 overtimes, and it was already Saturday in Eastern time where the game was being played. And you really could not tell. I mean, after the game, all you can do is just shake your head and be like, we played it pretty much dead even.
I believe after the 5th overtime, I said to you, after the game, I want to look at the ESPN win percentage in the GameCast, and I did, and it looked like this.
It was up and down.
Up and down. And because just stopping a team on one play seems like all you need to do to win the game. But in the end, in the 8th overtime, Georgia wins on the 2-point conversion. They stop Georgia Tech and carry that momentum into the SEC championship game. So let's start right there with a rematch. A lot of preseason pundits did accurately predict that this would be the SEC championship game. We're down in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium for a rematch. Effectively, they play a game here every year, it seems like, Georgia against Texas. Earlier this season, I picked Texas to win the game. Georgia really beat them up in Austin. And now I think both teams have experienced, the rest of the season. Some people have gotten hurt. Arch Manning has done a few things, and now the rematch, and we have Texas once again back on the favored status at 2 or 2.5.
Yeah, you got this game first. We are picking this at 2.5. I've seen 3, but I feel like 2.5 makes it more interesting because you get that 3 points if you pick Texas to win by that. But um, yeah, we did say we disagreed on this one. It was really a surprise. I did not think that Georgia would dominate in that fashion. I did think they would win.
We were watching this game at
but
the
they
Delafield Applebee's.
They looked like 2021, 2022 Georgia out there and really got after Quinn Ewers and Sark's offense. So
I've seen this script before, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to lay the 2.5. Give me the horns. Hook 'em.
I'm going to agree with you. I think the stock has been going down for Georgia, and the stock has been rising for Texas. These teams seem to be going in opposite directions. Give me Texas to win this game 28-24, barely covering. I think it's going to be a good game, but I do think that Texas covers 2.5, and Sark enters his first season in the SEC as the SEC champion.
Which would probably, in all likelihood, give him the 2 seed, you would think.
Yeah.
In all probability.
Mm-hmm.
Just parenthetically, we enter this week with you with a 1-game lead on the season.
You with a 1-game
Oh,
lead.
excuse me. I'm with a 1-game lead.
Yes.
Both of us at over 50%, though, correct?
Correct. But not over 50% last week, because last week was
No, it was a bad week for both of us, but on the season, over 50%. So I'm taking Texas. You're taking Texas. That'll keep me a game clear. All right.
All right, let's move on. Here's an interesting one. We head to the Smurf Turf, get our 5th game in here, where a top 25 matchup, yet a group of 5 matchup between the UNLV Running Rebels and the Boise State Broncos, who have been kind of at the front of people's ESPN pages all season with Ashton Genty making his case for the Heisman. Boise State is favored by only 5. You'd think it'd be more since it's a home game and the ranking differential, but Vegas thinks that their home team, the University of Las Vegas, could keep this game close. I'm going to go with UNLV to win this game outright. I think that UNLV overall is a much better team. I think that
Brendan Marion and that
they have
offense.
such an incredible offense, and they return a lot from a successful team last year. We remember seeing Jacob DeJesus tear up our Michigan defense.
Ricky White tear up our Michigan defense.
Well, back in the day he did. But I do think that overall this team is more solid, and I'm interested to see once Ashton Genty gets stopped how well Maddox Madsen can do in the pocket, and I do believe that this is going to be a crazy upset for UNLV. Give me the Rebels to win this game 31-27.
Wow, I'll take it. I'm going to take the chalk right there. You said once they stop Ashton Genty, which is something that few people have been able to do.
Because they've played far inferior opponents versus what UNLV has on defense. UNLV really is probably the top 20 team in the country, and they are overall a more sound team than Boise State at times.
I'm going to take UNLV by the touchdown. By Boise State to cover by a touchdown, and therefore I'm taking the Broncos. I'm riding that horse Ashton Genty all the way into the downtown athletic club, where he will lose to Travis Hunter, but I think he'll be there.
The Running Rebels. All right. The Big 12 champion has a former Big 12 team and a former Pac-12 team representing them. This is the 16th ranked Iowa State Cyclones and the 15th ranked Arizona State Sun Devils. Where's
this game being played?
This game is being played. It's in AT&T Stadium, Jerry World.
Yeah.
We've seen some crazy Big 12 games, Big 12 championship games. I remember Kansas State having an upset against TCU there before TCU went to the playoff. You remember Baylor barely missing, I believe, a 2-point conversion to win the game. Maybe it was Oklahoma State. But either way, this has been a fun game to watch. This is an 11 o'clock game in AT&T Stadium. The Sun Devils are favored by 2. If they win this game, they do have a solid case to make the college football playoff. They're on the outside looking in for sure. But with guys like Cam Scadaboo in the backfield, all first team, all name team, they do have a reason to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big Matt Campbell admirer, and I think in a lot of games he really gets his team up, rises to the challenge, does more with less probably than any coach in the country, and I think that that's not hyperbole. I think probably given the way Iowa State recruits and the results they get on the field at Jack Trice, I think that Iowa State does more with less. That said, give me the Fighting Kenny Dillinghams, who are peaking toward the end of the season to cover that. A little closer game for people in Arizona as well, coming up from the land of the Sun Devils to the land of Jerry World. I'm taking Arizona State.
I agree with you. I think Arizona State has the ability to turn Rocco Becht over, or Brecht, whatever. Their quarterback, Iowa State, seems to let throw the ball 50 times a game. I do think that Iowa State is probably a little overrated this year. I think they haven't had that hard of a schedule and have just been able to win, even though they've won close. And I do think that it'll be another good game for Cam Scadaboo. Give me Kenny Dillingham to win his first Big 12 championship.
I really think that if the right opening was there, this might be the time for Matt Campbell to consider taking a new position. But there's really no obvious jobs open in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I suppose if for some crazy reason Marcus Freeman goes to the Bears, then he would make a ton of sense at Notre Dame. But he's a guy whose stock I just really think is not ever going to get higher than it is this year. And we'll see if he sticks it out like a lifer at Iowa State, or if he does take an opportunity to maybe move up to a Power 2 job.
All right, we move on in the midst of the Lions game here Thursday night, where we'll be picking also the ACC championship. This is in Charlotte, where 9-3 Clemson, their playoff hopes have vanished after a home loss to South Carolina. Will be playing maybe besides Arizona State, the most surprising conference competitor, championship contender, with SMU being 8th in the
Ponies.
11-1, only loss to BYU. They turned out to be another very good team. I believe the committee has seen that, and that was week 2. Since then, they've been 9-0, and they are the favorite.
You and I were talking about this the other day.
Clemson.
In the first ever 12-team playoff, to think that potentially 2 teams with byes would be Boise State and SMU.
That's just crazy. And like Alabama and Ohio State would have to play the first round, albeit, and Notre Dame, albeit they would host. Right. SMU is only favored by 2 again. Do you have to pick first?
No, you have to go first. This is game 4 or 5.
I don't know enough about SMU. I do know that Rhett Lashley has built a program, and it is mainly centered around passing the ball. And I do think that Dallas Swinney has, he's been there before. He will be able to get his guys, ready to go for this game. Give me Clemson to win this game. I don't really like this pick, but I do think it is the right pick because of the experience that Davos Swinney does have in this game. He is better prepared for this game, I believe, than SMU is. And also, I do think it could be a little bit of a shock for SMU if they get down 14-0 early, how they bounce back against a still very good Clemson defense. And I do think that Clemson will win this game outright.
Yeah, don't accuse me of rope-a-dope here. I'm on Clemson for this. I think Clemson is better. I mean, I got beat last week because I thought that Clemson would outlast the Gamecocks, but South Carolina at the end did clip them.
That game was weird.
It was
4 rushing touchdowns by quarterbacks.
Right. I'm gonna take Clemson this one as well. I'm not just trying to hold you off in the picks here. I really think Clemson wins the game by a field goal. So give me the Tigers.
All right, we head to the Midwest.
Here we go.
Indy, the house that Peyton built, where it is a top 3 matchup between the third
rate.
You
were going to say the house that Blake Corum built, but anyway.
Between the third-rate Penn State Nittany Lions and the number 1 overall Oregon Ducks. Penn State getting the win after something happened in Columbus that really gave Penn State an early Christmas present.
I hadn't heard about that.
The Ducks are favored by 3.5. This is a night game done by CBS. Unfortunately, me being a Fox and Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt homer.
Are you still a Gus Johnson homer after the hot smoky takes he had on Michigan inappropriately planting the flag? I mean, bad sportsmanship. Get out of here, Gus. I mean,
I guess
come on.
he's
That's
not perfect, but
weak sauce.
I mean, a lot of people have defended Michigan planting the flag, including the OG Baker Mayfield. Anyways, Oregon is favored by 3.5.
I love this line, by the way.
Yeah,
it's a great line.
But
I'm gonna ride with the Ducks. We've been saying for years in this podcast, this is peak Penn State. I mean, with the
when was the last time they've been third?
Abdul Carter and both of the tailbacks and Aller and then obviously big number 44 rumbling up and down the field. But I'm going to take the Ducks. I think there's just so much juice in the Oregon program, probably finishing with the number 1 recruiting class in the country. I think that they have gotten better and better. They've been tested against teams like Penn State at Wisconsin. That was a road game. They came out on top. They really did away fairly handily with Washington, despite your pick in that one. I'm gonna go with Mark. Or excuse me. I'm gonna go with
Dan Lanning.
Well, no, I was trying to say the name of their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, and I went with Marcus Mariota temporarily. Dylan Gabriel. No, but Dan Lanning and all those speed players at the skill positions, I'm going to take the Ducks to win and cover. And I think it's going to be, I like 3.5. I think it's going to be a game that's probably like 31-26.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make a comeback against you, but I have to agree. I think Oregon will win this game. I do think that it could get difficult for Penn State to move the football since Oregon has probably a top 5 defense in the country. Just very, very solid players everywhere. And Dan Lanning will get this team ready to go. And just like Sark will try and, show the Big Ten who really can be boss. I do think that this game could get drawn out with long drives by Oregon because that's what they like to do. They like to dump it down and get 5, 6, 7 yards and maybe break off a 20-yard play. And I do think that can wear down the Penn State defense.
But I think actually that's Penn State's best hope. Actually,
is long drives.
Is if this game is 21-20. I think that Penn State running the ball, following a little bit of the Michigan game plan, where they just run a lot of Allen and Singleton, and just try to chew clock and be there in the fourth quarter.
Well, Oregon's just so versatile. I mean,
right.
It doesn't matter what situation they are in. They can win the game off of that because they have incredible running backs like Jordan James and Noah Whittington, who are just as good at a 1-2 punch as Singleton and Allen are. There's just too much for Oregon.
Here comes the hate mail from State College for that comment, but sure.
I mean, the State didn't really deserve to get in. They weren't probably the second best team in the Big Ten, but that's how the rankings.
Who's the second best team in the Big Ten?
Probably Ohio State, but then that means Michigan must be the first.
Transitive property. So painful, Ryan Day. What happened?
The Ducks.
What happened?
That was so funny. Watching that live, the guy runs past his face. What happened as the brawl is going on in the middle of the field?
Anyway, speaking of that, as we lodged our picks now, let's quickly reflect on the Michigan total season scoring differential competition that we've had, because both of us we fell off the pace a lot last week. With
the last 2 weeks
with Ohio State only scoring 10 points, Michigan scoring 13.
So you were 27 points off, you had 34-16, and I was 28 points off because I had 38-13 on the season. You are 16 points ahead of me. I will probably not make that up unless I go crazy in the bowl game.
You're going to have to make some really, really, really different picks for me.
Yeah, you'd have to be like, make it 24-10 or something to make it really difficult for me to do that. But you are at 157 and I am 173 on the year. So
the differential
it fell off. I mean, we were doing good, and then
we were pretty good till the Northwestern game, and it was 50-6. Yikes!
Speaking of Northwestern, let's
wrap up there.
They play Grandview. Second meeting between these two teams. First one, Northwestern won, I believe, is in 2019.
That was an announcement game really for the Matt McCarty era. That win down in Des Moines against Grandview.
Some of the other GPAC games, Morningside has to Montana Western. Kaiser is still in it, and there's
I
one
think
other.
Kaiser's going to be there till the end,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
probably. They don't really deserve to be an AI team. They're a huge university, and they just get too much talent down there in Florida. But excited to see a basketball game.
Stick 'em in the
ranked
AAC.
Northwestern, so we shall see how that goes down. Definitely be an underdog for sure in that game. These look solid.
All right. We'll have a lot to look forward to, and then we'll get the bowl matchups announced on Sunday afternoon, and we will go from there. And I think just really looking forward to this playoff. A lot more interesting college football to watch late in December and into January than there has been in the past. And so we'll be here for it to talk you through our predictions and to describe what we see. Until then, I'm the preacher.
I'm the prodigy.
Peace.
Peace.
All right.
Oh, the Lions are losing.
What?
21-17.
21.